In this video, we're going to deal with a traveler. Travelers can be installed in a variety of places, from the cabin top, near the companionway, or at the cockpit floor, like the one you see in the image. However, before we go into the traveler, let's first understand how a boat sails into the wind. Well, in reality, a boat cannot sail against the wind. What it does is it zigzags its way into the wind by sailing at 30 to 45 degrees in relation to the wind. This is called beating into the wind or sailing close-hauled. And why is this important? When a boat sails close-hauled, it needs to sail efficiently to be able to arrive at its destination. Therefore, any possible element in that boat that is not optimized will either slow the boat down, cause excessive heeling, or both. When the air passes through the sail, it creates lift, but at the same time it also creates drag. The resulting vector of both is total lift. Then, as the wind speed increases, lift also increases and drag will also increase. Therefore, when sailing close-hauled or beating into the wind, we need to increase that lift as much as possible without increasing drag. And this is the true challenge in sail trim. Just a curiosity, when the boat sails on a broad reach or downwind, that drag actually helps the boat sail faster because it's aligned with the boat's heading. However, as the wind interacts with the sails, it also causes a side force that causes heeling. Heeling, acting parallel to the boat's beam, above a certain degree also reduces boat speed. There are two things that can help reduce heel. One is the keel, the second one is sail trim. Let's look at the keel first. Sailboats have under the water this appendage called a keel. It serves two main purposes. The first is to counteract heeling by having a specific weight built in by the manufacturer, normally lead or iron, that acts as a counterweight reducing heel. Smaller boats don't have that weight, so people need to hike on them to counteract the heeling. The second one is to prevent the boat from drifting sideways when the wind hits the sails. As the boat gets pushed sideways, the keel, that has a cross-section like an airplane's wing, also provides lift. This lift works against and reduces drift, helping the boat move forward instead of sideways. Long, thin keels, like gliders' wings, are very efficient and are often seen in performance boats, whereas short, thick keels are less performing, but allow sailing in shallow waters, and they also present less structural problems. So, to beat into the wind efficiently, we need to reduce drag as much as possible and maintain heeling inside acceptable values. Those values vary from boat to boat. Some boats with specifically designed hulls can sail efficiently up to 30 degrees heel. Some other boats max out at 20 degrees. It all depends on the hull, its shape, its compromises, such as motion comfort, structural integrity, etc. By the way, on a broad reach or downwind, the keel provides absolutely no lift at all. In fact, some of small dinghies downwind, they simply remove their centerboards out to reduce drag. So, beating efficiently into the wind. Well, since the keel is a fixed factor that one cannot change and cannot be adjusted, except on high-performance boats, they have canting keels and so on, but that's not the point now. The only way to counteract heeling is by proper trimming of our sails. To do this, we can use the main sheet, the outhaul, the Cunningham, boom vang, so on, and the traveler. The traveler is a very useful tool, and more than often people don't even know how to use it. Smaller boats and less performing boats might not even have one. But as boat size increases and boats become heavier, or performance is needed, boats start having travelers. This is how it works. One of the main and most critical items in main sail trim is sail twist. Main sail twist is needed because the winds aloft are stronger than those at sea level, and as the wind aloft increases, the angle of incidence of the sail at the mast top must be different than the one needed at boom level. It's now a good opportunity to watch the boom vang video if you haven't done so. Sail twist is necessary to assure that the angle of incidence is constant along the whole sail. Sail twist is achieved with a combination of main sheet tension, boom vang, and traveler position. This is what happens. On a boat without a traveler, the main sheet is fixed at a point along the longitudinal axis of the boat. With this setup, as the main sheet is eased, the boom has a tendency to raise, changing sail twist. This setup limits the right angle of incidence along the whole sail. With a traveler, the angle of incidence of the sail can be moved without affecting main sheet tension. So, how and when to use a traveler? As wind speed increases, the apparent wind moves forward and the angle of incidence of the whole sail needs to be adjusted. And unless we change heading, the only way to do it is by changing the angle of incidence of the whole sail. Enter the traveler. The traveler is an important tool as it allows to change the angle of incidence without affecting sail twist, which in turn helps reduce or increase weather helm or lee helm. In fact, a trimmed sailboat can be steered just by using a traveler. There's a video on it, by the way. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and just look at it. When a well-balanced and trimmed boat sails, it will maintain its heading indefinitely until either the wind changes and we need to trim the boat, or the heading changes and again we need to trim. This is known as a balanced or a neutral helm. However, some sailors prefer their boats to have a little weather helm, as it allows them to feel the rudder and sense the boat's tendencies as they sail. Other sailors prefer a neutral rudder, which provides less drag and therefore better speeds. It all depends on the individual tastes. A good acceptable rudder angle is between 3 and 5 degrees of weather helm. Anything above this, the rudder starts dragging sideways in the water, and this is almost the same as driving your car with the parking brake on. It just slows you down. So, how do we use it? Moving the traveler to windward causes the boat to point into the wind. Lowering the traveler to leeward causes the boat to veer away from the wind. Simple as that. So, start by placing the traveler in the mid-boat position. Then, adjust the main sheet and the boom vang, creating the right twist for your apparent wind. Then adjust the outhaul and the backstay for the correct sail curvature and to reduce heeling. Generally, in medium to high force winds, the traveler starts in the mid position. Then as the wind increases, the traveler will be moved to leeward until the sail starts flogging. Once it does that, just bring it back a little bit, and that should be the right position for that wind. At the same time, check for weather or lee helm. The traveler will be moved to windward if the winds are lighter, but never to a point where the boom passes the center line of your boat. Except, well, some race boats do that, but that's just another story. You should also use the telltales as an indication of the right traveler adjustment. They should all point towards the rear of the sail, especially the upper one, and should never get behind or forward of the sail. And if you're sailing downwind or on a broad reach, the traveler should be moved to the leeward side. Another interesting characteristic of the traveler is that it can also help reduce heeling in strong winds. And this is because if you move the traveler to the lee side, the arm at which it's pulling the boat is shorter than if you put it on the windward side. So, here you go. The traveler can also help reduce heeling. Again, practice is the key. You should now go on your boat and play with your traveler. It will make you sail much better. Enjoy!